Lord, I wish. Okay. Let's see. Good morning. Before brokers near Edmonton, mine is retiring. Does anybody have a broker in Edmonton that they use, that they like to use? Mortgage broker, right, Dave? You're talking about? I think might be somebody I know in that area. Dave will send you info. Yeah, that's great. Good. Good stuff. Anybody else? Any questions? Everybody's good? You guys are great. We're good? No questions? All right. So let me check something out. I got an email about a rent to own. Okay. 1 second. Just bringing it up. Timothy, you're on this. Yes. Yes. Okay. Timothy's got a rent to own. He wants to review. Yep. Great. Okay. So Timothy, why don't you start with your questions about this particular deal? What is it that you're wondering about? Okay, that's the deal right there, right, Timothy? Okay. So tenant buyer approved for 425 in 2021, planning on purchasing around 400K in 3 years for today's purchase price, max of 360. They're currently working with a realtor looking for houses around 350. That's good. 5K option consideration is low. Monthly option consideration is 908. Is the 908 on top of rent? Is that the deal, Timothy? And you're looking at making up the difference with the rent for the, because typically we want the 3%, right? Okay, so we can do that. The challenge again, right, is with a property that's 350, 9, 10, we're about halfway there with the option consideration. So when we do that, Timothy, we're taking that risk on, right? There's nothing wrong with that. It's just we recognize the risk we're taking, right, with getting half the option consideration. So the market rent in this area, let's say, what's the market rent in this area? Let me see your sheet here. Market rent is, looks like 1950, is that right? Yeah, 950. Okay. So they're paying an extra 980 for the term, the 36 months. And they understand, yep. And they understand that I mean, they understand the terms of the agreement. The 980 is a credit that will be given to them at the end of the term, and the five, as well as the 5K, they're clear on it. Everything is yep, good. All right. So let's give me some questions that you have about this particular deal, because based on that, I mean, if we want to go that route, we can. That's not a problem. Um, Okay. Market value of the home is 358. Market value. Okay, we don't know the discount yet. First mortgage. So you don't have the house yet, right? Let's bring that up. One sec. Yeah, so we were figuring they would have 7% buy per year for 2 or 10% by 3. They would have a 7% buy year or 10% by 3. I'm not sure what that means, Timothy. Let's try something here. Okay. Total non-option consideration. Oh, I see what you're saying. So that'll add up to that amount. Okay. Let's see something here. Okay, so it's hard to judge the profitability of this because we don't know what we're going to get in the way of uh, the discount on the property, which will obviously be part of the profit. So I think that might be something we would want to look at for the whole deal. Otherwise, I mean, we can assume. I'm looking over the sheet here. Just give me 1 second. I want to try to bring it up. Everything else looks normal. Looks okay. One second. Let's see if I can share with everybody. Go. Let's do something. Oh, there's no property. Okay. Let's do that again. Sorry, folks. I'm trying to bring up the file so we can all look at it. Okay. So, Timothy, what kind of questions do you have about about it? Is there any questions specifically you wanted to talk about? Okay, I tried to share it on the screen for whatever reason it's not liking that. Let me try one more time. See if we can do this again. Mostly just looking for any feedback or questions related to transfer of tax. What do you mean in reference to tax? That's why. Land transfer tax, okay. Okay, in reference to land transfer tax, when you purchase or when you sell, them paying it, is that what you mean? When you purchase it, I mean, that's going to be an expense. You're going to put this in a corp, right, Tim? Okay. So, I mean, if they want to purchase it in the corp, there would be no land transfer, but that would be it wouldn't be their property. It wouldn't be in their name. Typically, that's not something that a rent to own they're going to do. Well, yeah, but once on the purchase, once on the sale, because the land transfer tax is triggered by the property transferring names, right? So when you purchase it, you're going to pay it. When they purchase it, they typically pay it, but both those costs themselves can be, it doesn't matter who pays them. They just need to be paid. So, I mean, it could be an either or party could pay the land transfer. In reference to avoidance of that land transfer, the only way to avoid it is to not have the land transfer name, the name change, right? And that's what a corporation would fulfill that. The challenge that you're going to face is that selling it to them in a corporation to someone who's an end user, that's a little bit different than an investor. Now, they could agree to that to save that tax, but that would be then the property itself would be owned by a corporation. They would be renting the property from themselves, or from the corporation, my apologies. And in the sale of that, that would be considered a investment property with capital gains. Whereas if it's purchased by an individual, the home is not taxed, thankfully, because if it did, I don't think anybody would own a house. Yes, absolutely. So, Timothy, what you can do is when you develop the plan, and this is something that everyone should keep in mind, when you develop a plan for someone in an investment property, rent to own, the end user should know exactly on purchase, as close as we can to the dollar of what the purchase price, um, plus any additional fees are going to cost. So we take all the credits. We take all the non-refundable option considerations, whether the rent credits or the upfront fee, um, should be combined, and the shortfall needs to be saved, 100%. Now, you have the option, Timothy, at that time. I would put them on a savings plan. Tell them, they need to save this amount of money to ensure that they can make the purchase. But I mean, at the end of the day, at the 3-year term, they might be short. If they're short, it doesn't mean, that the deal is dead. That's where you take an opportunity, if you wish, to make up that shortfall to them. That's something, though, I think that should be addressed, at the end of the term, at the initial creation of the term of the agreement. They should have a savings plan that's in place to allow them to do that. The other option, of course, is to ask more for money up front, or rent credits to allow that combined amount to fulfill the cost of the purchase itself. Does that make sense? Anybody who has any questions in reference to what we're talking about, please jump in. You can ask about it, or ask about rent to owns is the subject that we're covering. If you have questions in reference to this, I'll ask you a question, Timothy. How did you find this individual? Okay, so I think everybody should take note of this. Timothy, so you set up a website, is that what you did? And you have advertising, marketing for rent to owns? Excellent. And Timothy, are you charging a fee for the process, the application of the rent to own? Excellent. Okay, so they paid a $500 fee up front for you to process their application. And did you tell them that you would credit that to their non-refundable, or was that something that was a one-time fee? Okay, excellent. All right, so you credit it back. Okay, and on this particular deal, Timothy, uh, the estimated return on investment for the investor, so far they have paid me the 500 and 4,500 for the, that's excellent. Okay, so what was I gonna say? Okay, so for this particular deal, the return on investment for the investment is 26.31 per year. Is that correct? Based on no discount from the property, it looks like. So we still have an opportunity to make a little bit more, Timothy, with the discount to the property, correct? Okay, so Timothy had emailed me initially. Please don't respond right now. We can do it at the end. That joint venture partnership is open for this particular deal. Is that correct, Tim? You're looking for maybe a joint venture or an investor? Okay. Is there any interest in that from anybody? So please don't put your email. But if you're interested in this particular deal, just let me know that you're interested, and then we'll at the end we can exchange contact information. Is this something that someone would like to be involved in? Of course, of course. So what Tim can do, if anybody's interested in it, Tim can send you the numbers on it, and you can decide if you want to participate. And if you do, obviously there would have to be contracts and agreements. But I think the return is good enough to warrant a look-see from anybody that's looking to invest some capital in this particular deal. So Phil, what we won't do it right now. We'll do it at the end. If there's anybody else that wants to maybe look at those numbers, let's see if there's an opportunity there for you to, jump into a deal like this. Then what we'll do is we'll do it at the end, and we'll exchange information. Okay? Just a couple people typing. Sounds good, good. Okay, the other thing that I want to mention about this particular opportunity is the possibility of how many of you are interested in doing rent to own? Who's interested in doing rent to own? D, Emily, Mike, Kevin, good. Okay. How many of you that said that you're interested have any sort of marketing out right now, or website or whatever? Some sort of marketing campaign. Anybody? Definitely 6 active conversations with potential tenant buyers and 2 being vetted with more. Excellent. We do. Good. Working on it. None need to develop. Not sure what to add. Working on it. Okay. So this is where, and this is totally up to you, but this is where we can use each other's resource. So what I would suggest is the possibility of, in the absence of any marketing that you have right now, if that's something that you don't have, that, you know, yeah, no worries, Timothy. Uh, is this might be a conversation where, because Timothy and others have marketing up and are attracting people, and those of you who want to get involved might piggyback their marketing as a joint venture opportunity where you're directing people to their marketing and their vetting process because they already have it set up. Does everybody understand what I'm saying right now? So an example would be Tim has, we'll use Timothy has a website, and looks like, and it appears, Timothy, and you can address this or say this, that you have a process for getting them, charge the fee, you have, the process set up, um, that possibly someone could, if someone comes across, or somebody wants to use your marketing to market for opportunities in their particular area, they could piggyback on your marketing where you guys did a joint venture opportunity, or it could be, a wholesale deal, could be even a bird dog opportunity, or whatever. Uh, how many of you are interested in something like that, where you would push it towards those individuals? Now, Timothy's just one example. He's not the only one. But I think that this is where you would use each other as resources, where everybody benefits from that transaction. Now, Timothy, would that be something you're interested in? Okay. And who else is set up at this point where they can process a rent to own, a tenant buyer from start to finish? They've set up marketing, and they've got the process. They've got their mortgage brokers working with those clients. They're set up basically for the process. Have not closed the deal, but we feel we have the team in place. Good, good. This is why I bring this up. Tenant buyers are the most valuable, portion of a rent to own. They really are the people that we're solving the problem for, and why we get paid. And although all these other pieces are very important, you got to have the team in place. You got to have the marketing and stuff like that, and the process of vetting them. Um, but if you're out there and you're looking to, expand that quickly or get involved in that, it's not a terrible idea, and it's totally up to you and those individuals, right? To piggyback existing individuals from this group that are, that got a little further ahead of you, and would be interested in doing some deals together. And you can learn from each other. In this case, how they're doing it, walking through the process with them. But there has to be benefits on both sides, obviously, and that would be bringing somebody, a tenant buyer, to them for them to benefit from that. And you would have to work out if a joint venture opportunity is there, or if you wanted to wholesale a tenant buyer to them, or whatever it is. I mean, if you're wholesaling a tenant buyer, though, they've been typically vetted. If you're just sending a lead to someone, that would be more of a bird dog type, compensation. Not related to this, but if time can chat about it, is worth the risk to take a tenant buyer on where after 48 months only have 5.2% saved for the final purchase price. Let me see this. Okay. So I'm going to get to that, Dave. Just give me 1 second. So if you guys are interested in that, what we can do, again, at the end of the call, those of you who are interested in working with some people, that maybe if you have the marketing and things in place and you're looking for some or you'd be open to, right? Some individuals getting involved and maybe routing people there, and then they would market the site. Um, they would market the site for you to people that they talk to, or and there would have to be some sort of check and balance to make sure that everyone gets credit for what they do. But that's something, I think that if you're open to that, that's not a bad idea to have a conversation about it with each other. So at the end, I'll open up that conversation as well as the investing opportunity with Tim's deal, and we'll see where that goes. Okay, and if there's any questions with that, you can obviously bring it up on the call or reach out by email, whatever we need. Okay. All right. So I'm going to answer Dave's question, and I'm also going to go back to Timothy because you had a couple more questions. Okay. Not related to this, but if time can chat about it, is it worth the risk to take a tenant buyer where after 48 months they only have 5.2 saved for final? And the idea, I guess, Dave, is they only have 5.2% saved total with all credits and non-refundable option consideration, and the term of the deal is 2 years. Is that right? Is that what you mean, Dave? That they've saved, and this is combining non-refundable rent credits, everything, and they have 5.2%, which isn't going to cover everything. That's probably, but the term is 4 years. I'm not sure I understand. Oh, I'm sorry. My apologies. 48 months is 4 years. My apologies. So the dilemma with that, again, Dave, is that them being short on the amount, the real, and it depends on the deal, right? If there's no profit in the purchase, which there's going to be, you can make up that shortfall, right? Because the real big money's made when the purchase is completed. 3.2, but they put 10K down, and now for 48 months. So, I mean, you have to be, do you believe that they can save in addition to what you've put together for them, the difference? Because the mortgage broker that you use to vet the process is 17K. Okay. How much, Dave, so how much are they going to need total? I know the option consideration is 17K. How much are they going to need total? Have you figured that out? Has your mortgage broker told you? Okay, so this is something that you want to do. You want to find out what they need at the end of the deal and work your way backwards. So if they need $30,000 to make the purchase, including all costs and transaction costs, and then you work your way backwards to, okay, this is what we're going to take for rent credits. This is what we're going to take for this. And if it breaches the threshold of what the client can absorb, because say they're short on their non-refundable, which I'm not a fan of, but if they're short and you want to work it out, they need to be on a savings plan. They need to save that additional money. So really it's about planning and making sure that whatever's needed at the end is achieved at the end. Now we can be the net and the security and the insurance at the end of the term. If it's short, we can make up that money if we want, because there's a lot of money in the deal. But that's something you have to decide. You should plan always to take all the profit that you earned, that you created for yourself, and as a backup, be willing maybe to modify the deal at the end. But they should have a plan for success before they move forward. And that becomes a question, Dave. Maybe they're buying too much house. That's a possibility. Because you got to remember, folks, that if when they purchase this house, they should be able to afford taxes, maintenance, insurance. Insurance, principal, and interest as a minimum, not to include obviously maintenance for the property. But they should be able to manage the monthly cost of that, and your mortgage broker is the one who vets that so that they can afford it. Now, if they can afford it, then technically we could use that number as the number at the end of the deal. So an example would be, just to give you an example, if they can afford $3,000, right, per month, that's what they need, right, to buy this, $450,000 house, and this includes PITI. We can do rent plus credits. All that could equal that, or plus what? Savings. And that shouldn't be a problem because they've been able to savings. They've been vetted for that amount. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? If they've been vetted for $300,000 for a $450,000 house, that means they can afford principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. So if the market rent in the neighborhood is $2,000, then credit could be up to $1,000, and that should be okay for the tenant buyer because the tenant buyer has to be able to afford $3,000 at the end. So just to be sure I'm understanding, the non-refundable doesn't have to go completely to the down payment, but also can be included. Yeah, Timothy, it's all the money. They can do whatever they want with it. As long as it's in reference to the purchase, they can use it any way they want. Yeah. They can use it any way they want. I mean, at the end of the day, that's why we work backwards, right? You find out what they can afford, and, that's how you build your plan. And if they can afford $3,000 a month, then whatever the market rent is, you can go up to $3,000. Basically, you should be able to go up to $3,000. Does everybody understand what I'm saying? Any questions in reference to that? Do you understand what I'm saying? So start from the end and work your way backwards, because that's the whole process of vetting the client, right? The client can afford, this is what they can afford. So we build the plan for success by ensuring that the beginning ends up where we plan them to be, which is what they can afford, right? We plan for success. We want them to be able to purchase the property. So going back to your question, Dave, if they're short, are they buying too much house, do you think, Dave? Do you think maybe that's the problem? Because if the mortgage brokers vetted them for $325,000, that means they can afford that payment. So let's say at the end of the term, let's go. Right here. So at the end of the term, I'm not sure they need a place ASAP and they don't want to take the time to do all the due diligence. So what I suggest in that case, Dave, is to rent them a house, rent them a place. Is it that they're leaving where they are now and they have to find a place in between, or the regulator is going to put them into a home right away and do a rent to own with them? The realtor. Oh, okay, we can do that. But but that's great. And we want to make sure, look, if they can afford, folks, if they can afford, not your realtor. What realtor? Their realtor? $3,000 per month. And we need, some guy. And we need, we need $20,000 to complete the purchase for closing, just call that C. Closing costs, and so closing costs plus down payment. This is all you need to build the plan. Does everybody understand? So in this case, let's go. So let's go. If they have $20,000, right? If they have $20,000, that's what I need. Then I know what? The non-refundable option consideration initial plus rent credits need to add to this. Does everybody understand that? My plan was going to have them at 8%, but the realtor's plan will be 5%. I don't know what you mean. Oh, saving them, having them 5% at the end. They like the less money. They like the less money. This is a competing individual for a rent to own. Dave, is that what's happening? They've come to you to look at another option. Is that what it is? Oh, okay. So this is what I would say to them, Dave. I'd say, look, I understand that, you'll have to, put less money up and less money through the plan. My plan was a new build. Realtor is a pre-owned. Pre-owned. Okay. And what's the relevance in that, Dave? The house itself? What's just for me? I'm not clear the distinction between those two. And my lead was a sales lady from the new home builder. Okay. Okay. From the new home builder. The tenant buyer came to them to try and get a home that the wife liked. Okay. A new home. So they want a new home. Is that right, Dave? Is that the deal? Is anybody, I'm just going to let Dave type. Is everybody understanding what we're talking about here and how we want to build this plan backwards from what they can afford to based on what the mortgage broker is advising us? But they looked at a pre-owned home by an agent and can get a rent-to-own through him with less money down and less money per month. Okay, so this is the thing, Dave, right? So what are they saying to you? Why are they, the husband likes that idea? So why are they talking to you? What is it that brought, why are they just, what are they asking you to do? Are they asking you to do the same? Or what's the discussion you're having with these clients? Get them into a new build for the same price as pre-owned. The same price, like the monthly price and the non-refundable, that's what they want? Okay. Okay, so here's the deal, Dave. Are you going to cash flow every month? What do you mean you can't complete it without the realtor's numbers? They have the numbers, right, Dave? They have their own numbers. They know their numbers, right? The big thing here, Dave, is and everybody is, if they pay less money up front and less money during the term, they're going to have to come up with more money at the end. There's no way around that. That's how they get qualified. So, are we taking risk by taking less money? Well, yes, but so are they, because if they don't have the money at the end, technically the deal's dead. They lose all that money. So Dave, do they think they get that money back if they don't buy? Is that what they're being told by the rent to own, the realtor, or they know that they lose that money if they don't buy, right? The realtor said it was negotiable. What was negotiable? What was negotiable? He's playing them only after their money. Their okay. Option consider. Their initial option consideration. Okay. So this is what I would say to them, Dave. You tell them this is what I would do. So ask the client, say, look, do you want a new house? And they say yes. Say, great. This is the way I build my plan. You tell me what you can afford. That's going to be a problem. Absolutely, Dave. You tell me what you can afford to pay per month. So once they give you how much they can afford per month, you did that this afternoon. Okay. So what did they tell you they can afford per month? That's where you came up with those numbers, right? That's how you came up with the 5%. They can afford $1,800 a month, and how much house do they want to buy? Okay, so you need 22 and they want to pay 18. Is that right? Okay. So, and 18 buys how much house? Buys how much house can they buy, or how much are they being told they can buy? Okay. So again, right? They're telling you I can afford 1,800 a month. Say okay. They tell you they want a new house. Okay. Okay. So what we do is we vet the of what they can afford in 3 years, and we work the numbers around those numbers, those metrics, right? Does everybody understand what I'm saying? And why I'm saying this, right? Just let them tell you what they can do, and then this, you tell them this is the house I can get you based on your numbers. This is what you can afford. And if you want to buy more house than that, if you, or they want to pay, say it's 1,800 a month, and they want to buy a house that's, more than 1,800 a month, and they're not going to give you a rent credit, and they're going to give you a smaller down payment, non-refundable option consideration. Apologies for that. They need to know that at the end of that term, they're going to have to make up the difference, right? So that's A. B, you can't do the deal if you're not going to make any money, right? And one of the things that you want to make sure when you're doing these rent to owns, as a rule, is that you're cash flowing. You need to cash flow, right? If we're not cash flowing during this deal, that's a no-go. That's a no-go. You need to cash flow. Does everybody understand? Okay, so the cash flow was 450. Okay, so Dave, if the cash flow is 450 and they're giving you a non-refundable option consideration, not as much as we want, how much do they want to give you for non-refundable option consideration? Are they willing to give you? And I want to say this: there's no deal we can't make with. I mean, the numbers are the numbers. The plan was 10K and 150 a month. So Dave, that's fine. They can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. It really comes down to, what is their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, for this house in 4 years for the price. So do you know what that is, Dave? Do you know what their pity is going to be in 4 years? Like for the house that they buy, what's the house going to be worth in 4 years? Okay, so Dave, if these are the numbers they give you, and this is to everybody, if these are the numbers they give you, you run the numbers, and if you can do the deal and it works, then great. If you can't, you can't. If they want to take the risk at the end, for the difference, and they don't have a savings plan, which they have to have something. If they say, well, we'll get the money and this is how we're going to get it, because you got to remember, we're building these plans for success, so we want them to buy the house. The question becomes, Dave, you say to them, so how are you going to make up the difference? Because I want to make sure you buy this house. You know, what's your plan, and how can I help? So it doesn't matter what the numbers are, you know, that they, you know, what the specific numbers are in the sense of this is what they need. We work backwards from that. So if somebody says, look, I can give you 10K I can afford $1,800 a month and I can give you $10,000. Because really that's what it comes down to, right? How much can I afford a month and how much can I give you up front? And based on those numbers, you know, you can establish the vetting process through your mortgage broker, you know, what kind of house they can afford. But Dave, at the end of the 4-year period, you know, it's not like, you know, if the mortgage broker says they need 2,200 at the end, is that what you're estimating, Dave? They'll need 2,200 at the end, or is that your number, the 2,200? Is that what they'll need to cover pity? So to give you an example, folks, if pity in this case is 2,200 at the end of the term, and Dave, you can tell me if that's your number or the mortgage broker. Technically, if they can only afford 1,800, they're telling you, or sorry, my apologies, they can only pay 1,800. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what you should do, Dave. Then they should be able to bank an extra $400 in savings. Does everybody see that? Because the mortgage broker is not going to tell them they can afford this if they can't. Does everybody understand? Yeah, Dave, I see that. Yeah. Does everybody get what I'm saying? Is that clear for everybody? Does everybody understand? If the mortgage broker says they can afford 2,200, because that's what they can, you know, that's how much house they can buy. That's what they can budget for is 2,200. Then if they're telling you they only want to pay 18, then we're going to say to them, so you're going to save an extra 400 a month, I assume, right? So you can be able to buy the house at the end of the term. If 400 is the shortfall, if 300 is the shortfall, but technically they should have the savings. The dilemma is for these individuals is that they stick to the savings plan. That's really what it is, because they risk not being able to execute the deal at the end. That's perfect, Dave. Yeah, set them up with a broker. Find out how much house they can buy. But if the broker says, you know, they can afford 2,500 and they only want to pay 18, or he says they can afford 2,000. And again, we went through this before, but I want to say, you know, make this point. The method of evaluation for the brokers is pretty simple. I mean, if it, you know, the interest rates say, you know, whether the interest rates are 3%, you know, or 10%, that's not going to change, you know, what this person can afford. So if this person can afford 2,500, based on the mortgage at these rates, that's how much house they can afford. Does everybody understand that? So to give you an example, and I'm just doing the calculation right here, if actually, let me see, I can do it this way. If somebody can afford, and you can actually do the math for well, let's not do it that way, because what doesn't matter. Here, hold on one sec. Sorry, I'm talking to myself here. So let's do this. I'm just going to the cash flow sheet. What I'm doing is I'm saying, and I think we went through this together with everybody, you know, if they can afford, if rates are at, let's do this, so they do a 25-year at, why don't we just bring everybody on? You can all see it. Hold on. Let me explain. This way is better. Okay, so let me share my screen for you. And we got about 8 minutes left. I want to make sure this is understood. Tim, are you good with your deal? You're good? Any questions with that? Sorry, I didn't think this would get... No, Dave, this is good stuff. This is good stuff for everybody. This is not bad at all. This is excellent stuff. Don't think that your questions don't give something to everybody. They do. You know, this is good stuff because it helps other people. You know, if they haven't thought of the question, or maybe they thought about it, you should always, you know, make sure there's clarity. But the best way, I shouldn't say but, and the best way to do that is to take action, right? And do things. And because Tim's in the midst of this deal and Dave is working on his second or third one, this is what really retains the information because you're dealing with real problems. Good, yep. The first one is we'll be closing, so I might have some basic questions. Yeah, no problem, Tim. When you do, let me know. So let's look at that situation, folks. Let's say that the first mortgage on this property, and I'm just going to change numbers around. So let's say that the property is, let's say, $350,000. That's what it's going to be at the end of the term. Okay, don't worry about the other numbers because it's only this is what we care about. Okay, so let's, make it bigger. Oh, sorry about that. Here, let me close that. Yeah, for sure. Let's make that bigger. Okay, so I have to unshare and then change that. Thanks that you brought that up because that sucks. This will make it right. Okay, better? Okay, so, all right, so look at the property is $350,000. Okay, now look, let's say it's going to be 95 and 5, okay? Okay, so like this is an end user getting this property. So let's say that this is going to be 0, okay? 0, because they're going to put 5% down. There's no second mortgage. So just actually make this a 0 and this a 5, okay? So the 95 is really what's in question. Now look, that's the monthly payment. That's what matters, okay? The monthly payment. Watch the monthly payment. Now, if interest rate is, let's say this person can afford $2,000 a month. So at this rate, 25 and 5%, let's make this 3. So let's say they can afford $1,600 as a starting point. So they can get a mortgage at 3%, 25 years, they can afford $2,000. Now watch, if I change the interest rate to 6%, look what happens. Now remember, they can only afford $1,600 a month. The mortgage broker knows that. So what happens? Well, they can't buy this house. They have to buy this house. Okay? Well, no, they can't even buy that house. Here, give me a second. Do this. We'll do it from here. Equals. Nope. Let's do this. 20,000 equals. Just so we can see it. This. There we go. Okay. Let's just make that bigger. Like that. And there we go. So this is the price of the house here. Okay. So remember, now they can only afford $1,600. So originally we started with what? We started with a $350,000 house, and the mortgage rate was 3%. Does everybody see that? So they can afford $1,600 a month. This is what they can afford. So why don't we do this for the sake of simplicity too? So this is purchase price. Let's do that. Purchase price. Okay, so this is purchase price here, and let's do this, that, and that. Let's make that. Okay, that's purchase price. Now let's look at how much they can afford, right? So they can afford client Let's put client monthly payment. Okay, so this is what they can afford, the monthly payment, right? So the payment for this client is not going to change for us, right? Whatever it is, it is. You can't do anything about it. That's what it is. So let's say the monthly payment that they can afford is $1,600, and that's what we're talking about, right? So let's make that bigger. Okay, so they can afford $1,600 per month. Okay. Okay, so they can afford $1,600 a month, right? That's what they can afford. Then I look down here and I see, okay, they're under $1,600. They can afford this house. Everybody see that? Now, if the interest rate goes up to 6, look, they can't afford that house anymore. They can't afford a $350,000 house. All they can afford now is a $250,000 house, or $255,000, let's say. We can even go $260,000. There. Yeah, about $260,000. Does everybody see that? What they can afford is what they can afford. It doesn't matter, right? So it's a combination of amortization and interest rate. The other option is if we did, so let's say that the interest rates are 6, but we can get a 30-year mortgage. Well, we can buy more house because they're under $1,600 again. So maybe we can go to $300, right? Oh, it's a little too high, maybe $290. It's a little too high. That's $2 million, but $280,000. Here you go. Now they can afford a $280,000 house. Everybody see what's happening here? Whatever someone can afford, they can afford. You can't change that number. So if they've been approved, if their principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, and heating bill, added, they can afford $1,600. That's what's available. Then those combination of those bills can't exceed what they can afford. That's what the mortgage broker is trying to figure out. That's what the pre-approval process is. Is based on how much can you afford and how much house can you buy based on those rates, right? So regardless of what the client, wants, or at the end of the day, how much can you afford, and if they can afford $1,600 and the rates are 6 and we can do 30-year mortgage, because that's what our mortgage broker says, it's $280,000. That's the house that I got to find them that's worth in 3 years. So technically that 280 can't be 280. I got to do compounding 280 over 3 years, and that might be a property. So if we went 280, so we went equals. So let's do it this way. So the actual price. So let's do the original price. So current price is going to be, say, $250,000 is the current price. And what we say is okay, $250,000 now. So we go year 1, Y1, Y2, Y2, Y3. Okay, and my appreciation rate is going to be 5, 5, and 5. And these are percentages. 5% a year. And then we go equals this times this, and we go equals, oops, so that's what we gotta do, plus this, so that's the year 1, and let me fix these ones up. So that's gonna be, let's see, 2, so I wanted to do J34, I wanted to do L39, K39, okay, that's right, J. Sorry guys, I should just do this, equals this times this plus this, oops, plus this, then we go equals this times this plus this. There we go. Okay, so look what we got here. That's probably pretty. Small. So we're going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, so everybody see that? Okay, so what's happened here? Let's fix that. Let's make that money. So what's happened here, okay, is that it's breached, the 289 has breached the 280. Does everybody see that? It's breached the 280. So we got to bring this starting price down to maybe that. Now, okay, now we're okay. Does everybody see what I did? Is you guys with me? I know I was talking to myself a lot there. But does everybody understand? So what we're doing is, it's just a question of what their situation is. So if they can afford 1,600 and the interest rates are whatever they are and the amortization period is whatever, well this is the deal. They can afford a $280,000 house because they can only afford 1,600. We didn't make up. Yeah, that's right. We're working backwards. We didn't make up that number. They did. The mortgage broker said they can only afford 1,600. So we say, okay, 1,600 at these rates, this is what it's going to be. Now, we could even do, if we really want to go a little further, let's say that it's 25 years and the current rate is 3%, and we say, well, we're going to vet you at 4%, because we anticipate, over 3 years just to ensure that you can, do it. But your mortgage broker should really be doing that stuff to ensure that they can afford in 3 years to give that buffer. So let's say current rates are 3. We say we're going to add 1% just in case, in the next 3 years rates go up, because I want to make sure you can afford this. They can afford 1,600, so we can bring this up to maybe 300,000, even more, 330,000. So 330,000, and this is going to equal 330,000. So we're just a little bit above, so 325. Actually, let's do this because I don't have the time to get the exact. Okay, so 315 is what they can afford. So what we do is we can take this number here, right, and we can get it all the way up to, the amount of 315. So guess what? We can maybe we go to 270. See what happens, because we're using a 5%. Oh, there it is, right there. So we're gonna go out and find a house for 270,000. Because that's the number that's going to allow you to purchase this house at the end of the term. And you explain this to them. You say this is why this number is what it is. I'm not making them up. Of course, again, this is a function of these percentages too, right? What we say the percentage is going to be, and it's 5 right now, right? It could be a different number. It could be 6%. Well, that's going to change things, right? Well, now we're over. If it's 4%, now we're under. Now we can start with a bigger house. Maybe we go 290. That's a little too much. It's still a little too high. Maybe 285. But this is how it's done right here, right? Even that's too high. 270. Didn't really do much for us. 280, 275. So 275, 277, something like that. Has everybody got that? Makes sense, right? The last piece of the puzzle is, how much are they going to need to close? So closing costs, let's say closing costs is going to equal, we're going to just make up a number, equal 7% equal 7%. So we're just going to put 7% is the number we're going to use, okay? Maybe it's higher, maybe it's lower, it really doesn't matter, okay? 7% is the number. And we go equals of the final purchase price, which is the 315 is what we're looking for. Well, this price, because that's what it's going to go up by, times 7%. Here we go. So guess what? They need $21,653 at the end of the term. Does everybody see that? That's what they need. We can't change that. That's what it is. It's going to be 7%. They're going to need 5% down, plus they're going to need whatever. We made up the number of 7%. That's what they need. So when I'm looking at this, I'm going, okay, how do I make sure they come up with $21,653? Because that's what they're going to need. Well, this is a $375,000 house. Let's say that we take 3%, so equals 3% equals 3% times this. So we go here times decimal 3, which is 3%. That's not right. That's 3%. What did I do wrong here? That's 30%. That's why. 0, 3. That's my option right there. See what that is? NOC. Non-refundable option consideration. ROC. That's what I need up front. And then I need what? What else do I need? I need rent credits, right? So I go, okay, equals this divided by, this minus this. So what do I got to do? I got to make up $13,000, right? So then I go equals, right? Let's say the term is 3 years. It's a 3-year term, right? Which is 36 months. 36 months. So I go equals this divided by this. So I need another 372 per month. Right? Everybody seeing this? Okay. Then I have what that means, that my rent has to be what? If I need $372, my rent has to be equals what they can afford, $1,600, minus this, because that's all they can afford is $1,600. Is the rent needs to be around $1,230. Now this is rough. What I'm doing is rough, but does everybody understand the planning involved in this to ensure that they're successful? All we're doing is we're working with our mortgage broker is going to do a lot of this work for you, but you as the problem solver needs to evaluate that, right? Needs to ensure that you're doing what's best for your clients, and they're your clients. And by doing that, you're building a successful plan for their success. You're making sure a successful plan for their success. You're building a plan for their success, and that's the most important thing. This shouldn't be a struggle for them. This should be them bending but not breaking, right? Them, stretching a little bit, but really I would rather they are uninterrupted financially by this commitment. They can give us the non-refundable. They can afford the rent. I don't want them to be stressed during the 3 years. I want them to feel like they were doing what they were doing before, but now they're going to end up with a house. Does everybody understand that? We want this to be easy for them. We want this to be easy. That being said, the numbers are the numbers. We can't change what they can afford. And this is all based around what they can afford, right? Now think about this. Look, just to go with this, non-refundable option consideration, right? Let's say that the non-refundable option consideration, they can afford 3%, they can afford only 2%. Well, look what happens. Now, the term, we have to get up another $448, and the rent needs to be around $1150. Does everybody see that? Because it can only come up with 2%. Does that make sense to everybody? We can adjust and create any plan, folks. Any plan. If we have the numbers, right? If we have the numbers, we can create the plan. All right, it's not a problem. Now, all this being said, what has to happen at the end, the middle, beginning, middle, and end? We have to profit too as an investor, right? But these rent-to-owns are so versatile and so dynamic, and the profitability is quite substantial. It's not that hard to make money doing these deals if you build the plan properly. All right. Any questions before we wrap up? Yeah, D, I'll get that. No worries. Yep. No worries. My pleasure. My pleasure, folks. So these questions, I love these questions. They you know, we got to know why we're doing what we're doing. And I think it's important that you feel like you can ask those questions, and we'll take them where they take us. We all learn from that. I mean, did everyone feel like they got something out of that? We're learning something, yes, right? I mean, we're getting something out of these questions, uh, because we're working towards. And again, right? We get paid when we solve problems. Yeah, and we can go over that again, folks. I have no problem going over that again, and working out our deals that way. This is what I want you to do. I want you to feel confident as somebody who creates solutions for people. I want you to feel it's very special what you're doing, you know. Yes, you're making money. Congratulations. You found a way to help people and get paid. That's beautiful. It's brilliant and beautiful, and you should feel great about it and never feel bad about making money while you're helping people. Never. So this is what's involved and what we can do with people. If we just get the proper information, we can create any good deal with willing parties, and we're definitely willing. It's really a question, going back to you, Dave, what they're willing to do. And you tell them, Dave, here's your options. I mean, I can work out any plan you want. I can work literally any plan you want. I just want to make sure you're successful, at the end of this term. And obviously, when we give people options, and I like to give people 2 to 3 options,